The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
Welcome to the Benjamin Dixon Show. I am your host, Benjamin Dixon. Today is Wednesday, March 4th, 2020. Thank you so much for joining us. It is the day after Super Tuesday. It was a very difficult, long night for any supporter of progressive values or progressive anything. It was a rough night, and the best advice that I can give everyone is to take a minute to breathe and recalculate and recalibrate and just adjust. Joe Biden, listen, I knew when they formed the Voltron, when they formed Captain Planet, Joe Biden was going to be able to pull this off the way he did last night, particularly in the southern states. The irony is, of course, the southern states that he won, the southern states that are giving the establishment Democrats their firewall are the same southern states that are going to go to Donald Trump. Right. There's no question about it. Those conservative states that people like Bakari Sellers and CNN and different commentators are crediting Joe Biden for his victory, pointing out the black voters in the South. They're speaking yet again. Well, yeah, they're speaking and they're giving Donald Trump the election. There's not a single state in the South last night, with the exception of maybe Texas. Texas is starting to turn a little purple. So there's still the possibility of Texas going blue, but not if Joe Biden is the nominee. Now, there are some things to be said about Bernie Sanders, particularly the youth vote that did not show up. I mean, you can't lead a revolution. You can't have a revolution, rather, unless people show up to the revolution. It's something else that you kind of get a pulse for. The more that you're on the ground, the more you're out and about, the more you realize that the younger generations are not tuned in, not a high percentage of them. You do have a percentage, and those that are tuned in are the ones that are extremely active and working and very passionate and donating money and donating their time. But when only 10% of the vote underneath 29 showed up in South Carolina, and similar numbers replicated itself across Super Tuesday, that is a very difficult. You're not going to win. You're not going to win. So there's still some commentary to be had in terms of the Sanders campaign, and maybe not the campaign directly, but the people who know better, the people who understand. Listen, last night, boomers basically told us to watch out, everybody. We got this. OK, that's what they're saying. The boomers in the establishment. And when I say boomers, of course, I know I have some people in my audience who are literally a part of the boomer generation who are more radical than me. Right. We're not saying that this is categorical, but it's probably the best way to categorize everyone, because the majority of what you're going to see, the victory that went to Donald to Donald Trump ultimately. But the victory last night that went to Joe Biden came as a result of boomers overwhelmingly. So when I say boomers, don't feel like it's ageist or feel like it's categorical. I know there's some radical boomers who are just as upset this morning as anyone else. But your counterparts, the other members of your cohort, they're telling us to take a step back and trust them. They've got this under control with the man, with Joe Biden, a man who mistook his sister for his wife last night as he gave his victory speech. Listen in.
By the way, this is my little sister, Valerie, and I'm Jill's husband. Oh, no, you switched on me. This is my wife. This is my sister. They switched on me.
I'm sorry. I know this is not a funny morning. It's going to be hard to laugh, but here's who the boomers. And again, I don't mind taking a second to give the disclaimer or the caveat that I'm not talking about all boomers. I'm talking about the overwhelming number of boomers who supported this man last night. This is who they're telling us to relax, sit back, kids, watch Pops take care of this. watch Nana take care of this. These people are going to get us killed. Donald Trump is going to devastate Joe Biden because Joe Biden simply does not have the mental faculties to go toe to toe with Donald Trump. And everyone who says, well, Donald Trump has missed a step, he's not sharp. Do you know how easy it is to be a bigot? It's our default position. I think our default position is to be liars, to be hate-filled. It's easy. It comes natural to us. Why do you think the very first thing a baby does when they learn how to speak is the very first thing they do is lie? Because it's natural. So Donald Trump, even if he lost all of his mental faculties, he still knows how to be the hate-filled bigoted that his supporters love, because the cruelty is the point. Therefore, it's going to be easier for Donald Trump to be a 78-year-old man who's losing a step. It's going to be easy for him to perform because his performance is based in nothing but bigotry and hypocrisy. He doesn't care about Donald Trump doesn't have to track a single lie, because he can lie in 2 seconds later. He could lie again. Right. And his audience is not going to care. He could literally say something out of his mouth and then turn around and say that I have lied about that, and his audience is going to laugh. Meanwhile, you got Joe over here forgetting who his wife is and which one is his sister. And this is who everyone is waking up this morning feeling victorious about, because they leveraged, they actually had a really brilliant political move, which was clear as day, right? Everyone was hinting for it to happen. I just think nobody expected them to do it before Super Tuesday, which is a shame on us, because we really should have expected that. Right. I think I don't think any commentator really called it that we were going to see everyone drop out before Super Tuesday. But it was the obvious play. Right. And again, reports that Barack Obama was involved in it. So I mean, honestly, dope. It was a dope ass move. Right. You guys did what you had to do. The media was complicit in it. The media gave Joe Biden an estimated $100 million in earned media over the weekend. I mean, it was a love affair. It was a Biden love fest. And on top of that, it has been nonstop anti-Bernie coverage. So, I mean, that's for the super voters, the people who are going to go out in the rain and the snow, no matter what, for their primaries. They were motivated. This was their grand moment. This was their big stand. This is everything that they've been dreaming of. They stopped Bernie Sanders on Super Tuesday, or at least they slowed him down, right? It's not over, but they stopped him. They stopped Sanders from becoming the inevitable nominee. And so this morning they are feeling victorious. And I have to say congratulations to them for pulling a Machiavellian move. It's a great move. And it just so happens to be the exact move that you need to lose to Donald Trump. All of your victory this morning. And the fact is you're going into battle with the man who has the mental faculties of an old man. How many times we're going to tiptoe around this? You are sending into battle a man who does not have the wherewithal to survive an hour-long debate just one-on-one with another man who doesn't have to do anything but be hate-filled. Literally, Donald Trump does not have to do anything but be his hate-filled, bigoted self to motivate his base, and his base is showing up. You guys, nominating Joe Biden is giving Donald Trump the presidency. Period. Now, Nana and Paw and Madea and Grandmama, you all wanted, this is what you wanted. You wanted to prove to the kids that you still got it. Now you've got to win with Joe Biden, who can't remember that his sister is his sister and his wife is not. Okay? So, my dear, you better have some rabbits up your sleeve. Now, here's the play. All right. I'm going to give you this is their play. Here's how it's going to happen. If Joe Biden wins the nomination, it's not a guarantee, the fight's not over. There's still a lot of voting to go. There's still a clear path for Bernie Sanders to win. There is no path for Elizabeth Warren to win. Get the hell out of the race, Liz. Should have got out before Super Tuesday, but there's no solidarity amongst progressives like there is amongst moderates to stop progressives. That's the key thing. Moderates will probably eat themselves alive. The same moderates that are championing the black firewall right now, they're going to blame black folks on election day when black folks are not going to show up. Donald Trump is going to get the highest percentage of black votes that a Republican has gotten in years. Mark my word, put it down. You know why? Because they have consistently been investing in the black community, in particular black media, in particular black celebrities, like black political celebrities, constantly pouring. I mean, they have been doing this for the entirety of Donald Trump. Their strategy has always been to just chip away enough at the black vote to destroy the Democratic Party. So the same people who are championing the black firewall in the South is going to go to Donald Trump, period, right? So the firewall that brought you Joe Biden is literally the same firewall that's incapable of stopping Donald Trump. That's the irony. And what's more is that you're going to get a depressed turnout in the black community because Joe Biden is not going to motivate anybody, save one possibility. That's what I was getting ready to talk about in terms of his VP pick, right? But let's put that aside for a second. Donald J. Trump, who has been investing money into suppressing the black vote and converting the other black vote, is going to get the highest percentage. It's just going to happen because I don't think people hate Donald Trump the way you think they do. I don't think people are as obsessed with Donald Trump as you think they are. I think people are disgusted with our entire political machine, and no matter the fact that Donald Trump is in charge of the political machine, they still see Donald Trump as the enemy, as a person who he's constantly shaking up the political machine. And so for some people, they think that it's still all a game to them. I'm talking about people who generally, the people that you needed to come on the margin. Let's get specific. The black folks that you needed to be on the margin in terms of voting for the Democratic nominee and making the difference. Those people who may not vote all the time, but you needed them to be motivated to come out at a higher percentage. I mean, and you're talking about you need 90% of the black people who show up to vote for the Democratic Party. And you need 60% of all black people to show up. OK, you're going to get a large chunk of them in the South, but it will never be enough to win you the South. Because the South is conservative and they are always going to go with the conservative candidate, not the conservative light candidate. So the firewall was enough to get you to block Sanders from becoming the inevitable nominee. But it is not. It's literally going to be what gives you Donald Trump. And so while everyone is championing the black firewall today, what they're going to be saying after election day is, why did the Negroes show up? That's because you got grandma in them. You got Nana. You got Madea in Mississippi, all motivated to come vote for you in the primaries, but they don't have numbers sufficient to help you win the general election. And the thing is that the party players know this. The Democratic Party knows this, and they don't care so long as they don't lose their proximity to power by an incoming President Sanders. Their only goal was to beat Sanders. Now, I went on a long tangent. Here's the only play, and I don't even think it's enough. The only play is you're going to obviously see Joe Biden pick somebody like Stacey Abrams to be their vice presidential pick. Right. That's going to create a narrative of black women, an opportunity to make history, blase soise. It's going to have an impact. You're going to see probably a lot of the black women who supported Elizabeth Warren are going to go over to support Joe Biden. And it's going to look and have the feel as if it's a historic moment. They're going to hide Joe Biden as much as they possibly can. And they're going to let Stacey Abrams or whoever like Stacey Abrams, who's going to be the VP pick, do all the stumping. And so it's going to have all the hallmarks of a historic campaign. That is their very best play, and it's possible that it could win, with the exception that Joe Biden has to show up to do be pressers as well as to do the debates. And do you think for a second that Donald Trump is going to be dissuaded from attacking somebody like Stacey Abrams? Now, maybe that helps, right? Because the more he attacks, but then he's also smart enough to leave Stacey Abrams alone, right? He's also smarter. Yo, you guys are playing. Donald Trump will not say anything about Stacey Abrams and just continue his strategy that he's had in the black community the whole time. I'm not trying to be the bearer of bad news here. I'm just letting you know exactly what they have picked so far, right? It's not over. There's a lot of races to go, but I just have to play when I'm confronted with the piece of information that I don't particularly like. I still play out the possibility of what that information is telling me. In other words, I don't really like the fact that last night the Voltron of the conservative Democratic movement merged together and formed Captain Moderate and whipped our butts on Tuesday instead of it being a clean sweep for Bernie Sanders. Absolutely hate that information. But when you take a step back and instead of just rejecting it, right? Instead of rejecting the information, process it and play it out. And what does it look like? The best case scenario is Joe Biden is hidden from plain sight, and they use somebody like Stacey Abrams to try to create a historic moment and historic narrative, but you still are going to have Donald Trump and the Republican Party eviscerate Joe Biden. And the firewall that brought you Joe Biden as a nominee will not be enough to stop Donald Trump from winning.
www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show.
Here we go. Very special welcome to all of our newest patrons. Very special welcome to Alex Martin. Thank you for becoming a patron. Andrew Nixon. Andrea Rosario Jabori. Thank you for becoming a patron. Michael Leza. Thank you for becoming a patron. Ken. Thank you so much for becoming a patron. Blake Hesser or Blake Heiser. Thank you for becoming a patron. Mr. Brolick. Thank you. I see you. Thank you so much for becoming a patron. Zane. Thank you for becoming a patron. Kyle B. Campion. Thank you for becoming a patron. Ray Faring. Thank you for becoming a patron. Mike Drenov. Thank you for becoming a patron. David Scully, thank you for becoming a patron. Michael Escobedo, thank you for becoming a patron. John Giddens, thank you for becoming a patron. Andrew Martin. Andre Morton, thank you for becoming a patron. Lion, thank you for becoming a patron. And thank you for being a part of the video. I remember you were part of the Burning Bro video. Carolyn Steinhoff. And I think that's everyone from yesterday. Thank you so much for becoming a patron. You too can become a part of this prestigious and prodigious patron family by going to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and becoming a patron. You get twice the content with half, or actually I keep saying half, but you get twice the content with none of the commercials like you're getting ready to hear right now. Okay, so yeah, when I'm processing information, you're going to find situations that you really don't like, right? Last night was a tough spot. It was hard. It was bad. It was not the way we wanted it to go. It's not the end by any measure. It's not the end of the revolution by any measure. And again, we got to be careful. Like, I don't even want to categorize it as a revolution. I'll call it that because that's what we kind of rally behind, but it's not radical whatsoever. And what we're seeing from the establishment is they're doing everything they can to make sure that we don't think for a second that we can have a more progressive America. That's what we're dealing with. No questions asked, period, point blank. The Democrats are more willing to lose power with Joe Biden than they are to win power with Bernie Sanders. And then, you know what? That's okay. That's okay. Here's why it's okay. Because it's going to guarantee Donald Trump another 4 years. And at that point, it is up to us who are progressive to not have given up the fight, to not given up our organizing capacity, to not stop the revolution because let's say no. And again, this is all about me playing out to the logical conclusion the negative information that we received last night. You get to choose how you process your information. This is just how I process it. Some people are going to reject it and say, no, Bernie Sanders is going to win. Okay, fine. I'm not going to tell you how to process the information. Others have already started to say that the primary was rigged. I don't really have a whole lot of evidence to suggest that. As I come across it, we'll process it. But, they pulled a power play, a brilliant power play. Now, I'm sorry, I could have the ability to look at it kind of from a 30,000 foot level and see, wow, that was a pretty slick move that we all should have seen coming and been prepared for. But ultimately, I'm not really sure there was much we could do to stop that move, because you couldn't move Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren was not going to move out of this race under any circumstances. And so it was going to play out the way it's going to play out. Right. So you could take the vantage point of refusing to accept any information and just closing your ears and saying Bernie Sanders is going to win. Fine. That's cool. You could, however you need to process it. Or you could say, you know, other people are saying that, oh, the primaries are rigged. Okay. I haven't seen the evidence. I did see some really long lines in California that are unacceptable. I think one person had to wait 7 hours. So no telling how many people that depressed, like how many people got out of the line. But was it enough to overturn the victory in Texas? I don't think it was. Elizabeth Warren getting out, I got to look at the numbers again, but there's a possibility. Or you could take the information that we got last night, which is this is what we honestly learned. We learned that the Democratic establishment is so committed to maintaining the status quo and their power that they are willing to embrace a man as their nominee who does not stand a chance against Donald Trump. They're going to use the narrative of the black firewall in the South, when the reality is that black firewall in the South cannot win you. They are completely incapable. They will not win you the same states. So the Democratic Party has a firewall that can stop progressives, but guarantees a loss to conservatives. And that's how they're using the firewall. And you can guarantee that after the election is over, as we're playing out this one possible path, right? I'm just playing out one timeline to its logical conclusion. Once the primary is over, or once the general election is over and Donald Trump has won again, who are they going to blame? They're going to blame the same black people who gave them Joe Biden for not showing up in the numbers that they expected. And then who are they going to blame? They're going to blame the black people who voted for Donald Trump, because he's going to probably get at least between 15 to 20% of the vote. When the Republican nominee can't get more than 10% of the black vote without Democrats losing. So that's a strong possibility of how Super Tuesday is going to play out to the general election. Now, there's some other variables that are in play here that I think we have to start taking into consideration. The coronavirus. I'm not quite sure that we have a grip on this coronavirus enough to actually be planning a convention where all the people are going to be gathered and it's going to be a perfect ground for spreading that virus. Now, I know you're kind of like, whoa, Ben, where the hell did that come from? No, I've been following the news pretty closely. I've been following and digesting. And what I'm digesting more than anything else is the kind of despair that's on the face of everyone who's working for the World Health Organization, the frustration at the fact that we don't have the appropriate amount of tests, the fact that the incidents, even though we don't have enough tests to test everybody, it is still spreading. Right. So, in other words, they don't have enough tests to tell exactly how many cases are out there, but cases are popping up. So basically, let me say very directly, the spread of this is a lot faster than what the news is able to report. Now, I bring this up because I'm not sure how this affects us in the long run. I don't know how long this thing is going to last. I don't know, they're talking about a full year before we get a vaccine. And so you have to take everything into consideration. How does the coronavirus, if at all, right? Here's the thing about playing out these possibilities is that if you're wrong, you just move on, right? But what happens is that when you refuse to even consider the possible outcome of, let's say, for example, the black firewall in the South, giving us Joe Biden as the nominee. Well, if you don't want to play that scenario out because you don't want to think about the reality that the black firewall in the South that gave you Joe Biden as the nominee would be the same firewall in the South that's incapable of stopping Donald Trump from becoming president again. And so if we're wrong, we're wrong. But I don't think I'm wrong about that one. The numbers are right. The numbers are evident. To brag about like my friend Bakari Sellers, to brag about black people rejecting Bernie Sanders again. Congratulations. They absolutely did. Did they stop Donald Trump from winning in 2016? So what good is your victory if your victory is going to ultimately give you defeat? Well, if your real goal was to simply stop Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, Elizabeth Warren is just as repugnant. This is the funniest thing. Like, she's playing whatever. She's refusing to get out. She's refusing to help consolidate. Fine, so be it. But if you are upset at Bernie Bros not accepting Elizabeth Warren or attacking her, what the hell do you feel about the establishment that would rather risk the future of the country on Joe Biden than Elizabeth Warren? Who should you really be? See, everybody's trying to focus. Everybody has turned their guns towards each other in the progressive movement. Warren supporters are, oh, yes, Sanders supporters are looking at Warren supporters like, I hate you. And everybody is pointing guns at each other, when the reality is we've all been outflanked by an establishment that is willing to lose and let Donald Trump win another 4 years than to have either of the progressive candidates. I don't care how much you hate Bernie Sanders or his Bernie Bros. I don't care how much you hate Elizabeth Warren or her whatever I don't even know if they ever solidified around a single name. No matter how much you hate each other, the fact of the matter is that we all just got outflanked by an establishment so committed to stopping progress that they gave us the one candidate that is unquestionably qualified to lose to Donald Trump. Here's why. Is he better than Hillary Clinton? Not a single supporter of his is going to be able to say that he's better than Hillary Clinton, more qualified candidate than Hillary Clinton, but Hillary Clinton lost. Does he have a movement of people who will travel around the country and knock on doors on their own dime of their own time? Nope. Well, there you go. He doesn't have what Bernie Sanders has. Does he have, what was the last one I said yesterday? A movement. Is he going to be able to convert MAGA? Some Make America, the Never Trumpers? Are there enough Never Trumpers who are going to abandon Donald Trump such that they're going to give Joe Biden the margin of victory? Hell no. Because Make America Great Again is committed to no one else but Donald Trump and the complete and absolute destruction of the Democratic Party. So please tell me, what is your logical strategy for Joe Biden to actually win the general election? He's not as good of a candidate as Hillary Clinton. He does not foster a movement like Bernie Sanders, and he will not there's not enough Never Trumpers for you to win this. There's not. He's got like a 96% approval rating in the Republican Party, last I checked. So there's a lot of factors that's going on. I just threw in coronavirus in there just for good measure because I don't think that we actually have a real tap on this thing yet. I don't think that we are considering the long-term effects. The fact that it's absolutely going to affect voting. It's if they're unable to halt the progress of it, the spread of it, I don't think that we can honestly give political commentary without looking at the fact that we're not going to be able to engage in public spaces if they don't halt this. And we have the moron in the White House. I'm laughing for crying. We have the single moron in the White House who is uniquely equipped to make sure that this spreads faster than it would have underneath a more reasonable administration. So honestly, I'm not really sure how the next couple of months are going to play out. That's why we have to follow every possibility and consider the ramifications, consider the logical conclusion of each of them. And I will tell you this. The one thing I am crystal clear on, is that nominating Joe Biden to be your pick guarantees Donald Trump another 4 years. Simply put, that's it. So So in the patrons episode, I am going to do quite a bit of arguing in terms of why you should not be dismayed, why you should not be down, why it's going to be fine. Everything is cool. Like it works out. It's going to work out. It will. I'm not BSing you. I really believe it's going to work out fine, even if it doesn't work out the way that we plan. So I'll be making those arguments in the Patrons Only episode. You can get access to that by going to patreon.com/the BPD show and becoming a patron. Twice the content, none of the ads. You know how it goes. In the meantime, what I can say to everyone, here's the most critical thing, is that listen, and I can tell you this from personal experience. When I tell you, you have to be able to take loss and keep working. The real question of your success in the long run is how fast do you recover from a loss? Do you stay in the bed and grieve for months? Well, I did at one point in some of my recent losses. Sorry, audience. Sorry, kids. Some of my recent losses, it took me about, I think, 3 months to recover. 3 whole months to get my wits back about me and to get back into the fight. And what I could tell you is the most important thing to do is to not let it stop you. Take a break if you need to. Take a break. But don't let it stop you from organizing, making phone calls, sending your emails, posting on social media. Don't stop your own measure of organizing whatever it is that you're doing. That's the most critical thing. All right. So we'll talk about that, not just in the sense of an emotional argument, but also the logical argument of why it's critical that you do not stop organizing at this point, because it's not as bad as you think. It honestly is not as bad as you think. I'll see you in a few minutes. Patrons, I'll see you in a few minutes. Everyone else, I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show. If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.